Coming up, show of support. People around the world rally behind Ukraine. We'll explain what's going on, what it all means, and try to answer your latest questions.
Hi, I'm Asher. I heard about the war between Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on, Mr. Holt? Bye.
Then State of the Union.
The State of the Union is strong because you, the American people, are strong.
President Biden addresses the nation. Why is this speech so important? What you need to know. Plus, fact or fiction, does an apple a day really keep the doctor away? Dr. John has the answer. And bedtime boxes. These students from Iowa are making sure some kids in their community have some creature comforts to help tuck them in and fall asleep. We've got their inspiring story just ahead.
This is NBC Nightly News Kids Edition.
Welcome back to Nightly News Kids Edition. I'm Lester Holt. It is great to be with you. We have a terrific lineup, including our Picture of the Week. Plus, we'll bring you the latest installment of our Career Day series, where we take you behind the scenes for a look at some cool careers. This week, we're flying high with a pilot who will answer your questions about aviation and just what it takes to get you where you want to go. But first, let's begin with one of the top stories we continue to follow across NBC News, and that is Ukraine. Last week, we told you a little bit about this country, where it's located and why it's in the news. Well, there have been some important developments since last week, and kids, we know you have a lot of questions, so we're going to try our best to answer some of them. You may want to grab a parent or grown-up to watch with you.
Freedom for Ukraine!
Across the country and around the world, there has been a sea of blue and yellow, people of all ages coming together, showing support for the people of Ukraine, waving the colors of the country's flag. Even at President Biden's State of the Union speech, a standing ovation from the crowd. But why? The answer is a little complex. Let's begin with geography. Ukraine is located in Eastern Europe. Bordered by 7 countries, it is slightly smaller than the size of Texas. Ukraine has a long and complicated history with its neighbor to the east, Russia.
Ukraine used to be part of something called the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union broke up in 1991. Russia was one of the parts of the Soviet Union. Vladimir Putin, who is the head of Russia, now has said he would like to reassemble the Soviet Union. And one way of doing that would be to seize Ukraine and bring it into Russia.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says Ukraine is part of Russia's history. He ordered the Russian military to cross the border last week and invade Ukraine.
I think it's fair to say that Putin's Russia is behaving like a bully.
But the people in Ukraine want to remain independent, and they're upset with Russia. The United States government and many countries agree and are siding with Ukraine. That's why people of all ages are showing their support. You may have heard about NATO. Well, the U.S. is one of 30 countries that are part of NATO. That stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, an alliance established after World War II to ensure the freedom and security of member nations. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, but it is an ally of the U.S. and what you would call a friend.
And an unwavering resolve that freedom will always triumph over tyranny.
Looking at Russia attacking Ukraine and trying to make it a part of its own country raises the obvious question, is this something that just happens all the time between countries on Earth? And the answer, this almost never happens. And when it happens, it's considered to be a terrible thing to do.
Look, we know the thought of 2 countries at odds with one another can be scary and may make you feel sad or anxious. That's okay, say doctors. It's normal to feel that way.
It can be very unsettling. I think it's normal for you to feel anxiety, to feel a sense of panic, to feel uncertain about what's going to happen in the future. That's totally normal. And at the same time, I want you to know that the adults in your life do care about you. They want to make you feel safe.
Doctors encourage you to talk to your parents or a grown-up. Give yourself a break and get out and play.
And I want you to know that your heart is in the right place, that you do care. And when you feel upset by it, it means you're human. It means you're sensitive to what's happening in the world. And these are great things. I think it's really important that we use that sensitivity in the form of action.
There are many organizations taking action to help Ukraine. Here is just one example.
Save the Children provides humanitarian aid to kids all over the world. And what that means is that when children are in need, that we provide them with the supplies that they need after a crisis, such as education tools, food, water, shelter, and sometimes clothing.
And guess what? You don't have to be a grown-up to help the kids in Ukraine. It's the thought that counts.
I think it's really important that if we could donate or give back to charities or be involved in whatever way makes sense, however small, in your community, whether it's writing a note or a letter, whether it's making a $2 donation, every little bit counts.
All right, well, the situation in Ukraine was one of several topics President Biden spoke about in his first State of the Union address he delivered on Tuesday. In this speech to Congress, the president talks about important issues facing the country and offers ideas on solutions to some of the problems.
Because of the progress we've made, because of your resilience and the tools that we have been provided by this Congress, tonight I can say we're moving forward safely back to more normal routines. We've reached a new moment in the fight against COVID-19, where severe cases are down to a level not seen since July of last year.
The U.S. Constitution requires that the President of the United States give Congress a State of the Union from time to time. Did you know the first State of the Union was delivered by George Washington back on January 8, 1790? And President Harry Truman delivered the first televised State of the Union speech in 1947. Time now for our Ask the Doc segment. And joining us now, our pal, Dr. John Torres. And Dr. John, we have one new question this week about the COVID vaccine. Let's take a listen.
Hi, my name is Charlotte from Albany, New York, and my question is, what different ingredients do they put in the first COVID-19 vaccine and the second COVID-19 vaccine to make them have different side effects? Or do they put no different ingredients and it's just a matter of dosage that is being put into your body? Bye! I love Nightly News Kids Edition.
Thank you. Glad you're watching. What a well-put question, Dr. John.
Yeah, this is a great question, and it turns out if you're getting the shot from the same manufacturer, whether you get the first shot, the second shot, or the booster shot, it's going to be the same ingredients and the same dosage. The reason the side effects seem a little bit different is because on that second shot, your immune system has already seen the vaccine. It's ready to fight off the vaccine and COVID-19. So when you get that second shot, it mounts that immune response very quickly. But even though those symptoms might be more intense, it also means your immune system is doing what it's supposed to do, and it can fight off COVID-19 even better. The only difference will be if you go from age 11 getting the first shot to age 12 getting the second shot, then the dosage does go up. But otherwise, same ingredients, same dosage, essentially the same shot.
Good to know. And Dr. John, I know we're launching a new series here on Kids Edition with you this week on medical myths. And the first one today involves an apple. What can you tell us?
You know, you've probably heard the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's one of the biggest questions I get, especially from kids, as to whether that's true or not. Well, here's the answer. Does an apple a day keep the doctor away? The answer is yes and no. I'll explain. No, because regardless of what you eat, you need to go to the doctor every now and then for checkups. This includes getting shots, your school or sports physicals, and to just make sure that you're doing okay. But yes, because if you eat apples and all other types of fruits and vegetables every day, you're going to be healthier and you won't get sick as often. And that means you'll be able to stay away from the doctor as much as possible. So when it comes to an apple a day keeping the doctor away, fruits and vegetables can help keep you healthy. And if you're healthy, you won't see the doctor all that much. So it can help keep the doctor away for the most part.
Dr. John Torres, thank you as always. Time now for our picture of the week. Our producer Tess found this one. Say happy birthday to Rusty. Rusty, a Bactrian camel, turned 14 years old this week at the Detroit Zoo. These types of camels are well adapted to survive in a wide range of temperatures and climate. Did you know camels actually store fat, not water, in their humps? That provides an energy boost when food is limited. Happy birthday, Rusty. Okay, how about a little pop quiz? Who doesn't love Dalmatians? I sure do. True or false? Dalmatians are born with their spots? The answer coming up a little later on. Now to our Inspiring Kids series. This week, students in Iowa are helping kids in need find some comfort at bedtime. Here's our friend Rahema Ellis.
When you think of bedtime, what comes to mind? PJs, a blanket, and maybe a cuddly friend? It sounds good, but for some kids, the very things that make them feel safe and comfy at night are out of reach. So, students at Wickham Elementary School in Coralville, Iowa, decided to do something.
To go to bed, you really only need like a blanket, a bed, but to make it feel better for children, we put extra stuff.
The kids partnered with Houses into Homes, a nonprofit that helps families in need feel more comfortable at home. Together, they created Bedtime Boxes. Each box is filled with everything from toothbrushes to stuffed animals to nightlights and even a favorite bedtime story.
If you don't get like all these necessaries like toothpaste or like pajamas, like I know that it can be really challenging to like get through your day without all of that.
I know sometimes if I don't get in my PJs or if I don't get bundled up and warm, that it's really hard to fall asleep. And then when I come to school the next day, I'm off topic, I'm dozing off, I'm like about to fall asleep. And I think that it's hard for kids who do that constantly. And I think everyone needs a good night rest so they thrive every day.
Just receiving these items and knowing that your fellow students care about you and care that you have the tools needed to get a good night's rest so that you can go to school and try your best to achieve your full potential is something that is really meaningful to other students in our community.
Kids helping other kids with one goal in mind, a good night's sleep.
I hope we do this more often because it was really like fun and it felt really good to contribute to something. Just knowing that we could help kids who didn't have all these fun goodies.
Rahema, thanks very much for that. Finally, in our ongoing series, Career Day, we're flying high with a pilot and what it takes to get you where you need to go. I recently spoke with Justin Kelly, a pilot, author, and dad. Justin, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. Explain what the responsibilities of a pilot are.
Wow, that's a pretty good question, Lester. Thanks for having me on. The responsibilities of a pilot are to take a big piece of metal, fly it through the air at an incredible speed, safely, to get the passengers where they need to go.
If you're an airline pilot, tell me about a typical day. How many places might you go?
So certain airplanes are designed to fly very far, and some airplanes are designed to handle shorter missions. The airplane I fly right now, I'll fly 4 flights a day, and I will see probably 20 different places throughout the month.
That sounds exciting. I know a lot of kids are wondering, what does it take to become a pilot? What's the career path? What do you have to be able to do?
Well, that's a really good question, and it's not as hard as a lot of people think. Basically, you just have to get the right education. You can do that through a university. I went to Kansas State University and attended their professional pilot program, learned to fly through college. And then after that, I spent some time flight instructing to build up time and experience. And I flew up in the mountains of Alaska, flying smaller airplanes for hire before I finally got my job at Horizon Air as an airline pilot.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the science behind this. We know that birds have wings, and so do airplanes. Do they serve essentially the same function?
Yes, they do, actually. So birds, their wings serve 2 purposes. They both add lift, which is what gets them off the ground, but they also add propulsion, which is what helps them go forward. An airplane has 2 different devices to help them do that. They have the jet, or the propeller, that helps push them forward, and then the wing that helps produce lift. They do that by creating high pressure underneath the wing and low pressure on top of the wing, and then that brings them off the ground fighting gravity.
Yeah, I think about it sometimes when I'm riding in an airplane, I'm thinking, exactly how does this work? Great explanation there. All right, on Kids Edition, we always like to hear from our kid viewers, so let's get to some of their questions for you. Our first question is from Aubrey.
Hi, my name is Aubrey. I'm 11 years old and I live in Washington, D.C. A question for the pilots are, why do you have to turn your devices on airplane mode when you fly? Thank you and bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks for that great question, because I know we've all heard the flight attendants say, please turn off your phones and devices. What's the reason?
That is a very good question. Well, airplanes fly, but they don't get lost because of navigation. GPS and radio signals. Well, your phone has a signal as well. That's how you're able to talk to people all around the world, is because of the signal your cell phone gives out. Well, that signal, as well as all of the electronics on your phone, create an interference with what's going on inside the airplane as well. So because of that, we have to have your phone in airplane mode so that it doesn't mess with our navigation, it doesn't mess with our radios. When you have 70 to 160 people all in one condensed spot, all using their cell phones at the same time, it can really create a hazard.
Well, I, for one, don't want to be the one to mess up those signals, so I'm going to double check. Mine's in airplane mode next time I fly. Our next question comes from two siblings in Maryland.
Hi, my name is Zero.
Hi, my name is Hunter.
And we're from Maryland. We have two questions for you today. My question is, do pilots know when and where a storm is going to occur, and do they devise a plan to go around it, or do they just go through it?
My question is, who flies the plane when the pilot has to get up?
Thank you. Bye.
Those are all good questions. Justin, what about it?
Well, those are very good questions. And in fact, weather is a very, very important part of a pilot's training. When I went to college for piloting, I took several semesters of different weather classes, all the way from beginning weather through advanced weather. We do that so that we can actually read the same weather reports and data that weather forecasters use, so that we know what's happening throughout our flight plan. Wherever it is that we are going for the day, we know what weather is going to happen. Some weather is okay to fly through. It's not going to be too bad, maybe a little bumpy. Some weather is very dangerous, and so we plan our routes around those types of weather and make sure we have enough fuel to do so. And sometimes if the weather is bad enough, we simply just cancel the flight and don't go. So weather is a very significant portion of our thought process and our planning. Now, when it comes to, if a pilot needs to get up and use the restroom, well, there's two pilots up there. There's the captain and the first officer. Both are very experienced pilots. You have to be a pilot before you ever become a first officer at an airline. So if one needs to get up and use the restroom or take a break, then the other pilot simply takes over the duties. And they're both proficient because we usually trade off who is the flying pilot and who is the monitoring pilot every other leg.
All right, great explanation. And our last viewer question is also from Maryland.
Hi, my name is Seth, and I'm 9 years old. I live in Maryland. My question for you is, if there's an emergency, could you fly a fighter jet or a spaceship?
I think what he's asking is, when you become a pilot, can you fly any kind of aircraft, or in this case, spacecraft?
Yeah, Seth, that's a really good question. The basics of flying an airplane are all universal. You pull back on the control to pitch up, you push forward on the control to pitch down, you can bank left, you can bank right. Most of these aircraft, though, are big, complicated computers, and all the switches are in different spots. The computers don't necessarily have the same software, they behave a little differently. So could I jump in to a fighter jet that I've never seen before, grab the controls and figure out how to pitch up and pitch down and turn left and turn right? Probably, but there's a lot more to flying than just those basic controls that take a lot of training for each individual aircraft that you fly.
Well, let's hope no emergency presents itself that would require you to fly a fighter jet. Finally, can you tell us?
That would be a very bad day.
That'd be a bad day. Finally, what is your message to kids and those who might be a little afraid or nervous to fly?
I understand flying is kind of one of those things that seems really unnatural. You have this big metal thing that takes off into the sky by some unknown reason. Well, flying is absolutely safe. We go through a lot of training. There is a lot of technology to make sure that it's safe. And I've found that when you start to learn how an airplane flies and why pilots do the things that they do, a lot of the fears that you have go away because now you understand what's going on, which is why I wrote the book that I wrote. Some of that book is for children and kids who are excited about airplanes, but a lot of the book is for those who are scared or nervous about flying. And so I try to go through those questions and help alleviate some of those fears.
And tell us the name of the book.
That book is Ask a Pilot.
All right. Well,
looks just like this.
Well, we took advantage and we asked a pilot lots of questions. Justin, Kelly, thank you so much. Safe travels to you. Hope to see you in the air someday.
Thank you, Lester. I hope you're on one of my airplanes someday. That would be a blast.
Okay, before we say so long, time to get the answer to our pop quiz. True or false? Dalmatians are born with spots. The answer is false. Dalmatian puppies are born white and their spots come later in life. They are certainly cuties, and I know all my Dalmatian owners already knew the answer to that question. All right, now that we've cleared that up, it's time for us to go. Parents, just a reminder, if your child has a question about any topic in the news, email a video to us at nightlynewskids@nbcuni.com, and we'll try our best to answer them in an upcoming episode. And you can also follow us on Instagram @NightlyKids. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to take care of yourself and each other. So long.